Spoiler alert, Slashword Paradise encourages viewers to watch these horror films before listening to our show. Danny and Lance will go through everything, including filmmaking, dialogue, characters, and even full scene breakdowns when we get excited. Enjoy the show. Welcome to Slashword Paradise today. That's Danny. I'm Lance. What is that sound, Danny?
I'm doing tongue clicks.
Okay. Thank you.
That's an annoying sound, isn't it? Tongue clicks. There was always that one. There was always that one kid, right, in the classroom. There was always that one kid in the classroom who could do like the I don't know. Like the Cameron Fry thing from Ferris Bueller.
I used to be able to water dripping.
I used to be able to do that. Then I went through puberty, and I can't do it anymore. But what I can do is a form of the tongue click that's a little bit louder. My mom hates it. She really hates it.
It is unnerving.
But if I hit it, here's the thing. I have to.
Okay, let's
and then just
here.
Oh yeah,
that was a good one.
All
nice, right, huh? You need to lube it
and
up
sometimes
a little bit.
Sometimes you do it when you need to make a point or whatever. But if you just do it like at a family gathering or whatever, and it's or Thanksgiving and it's quiet and you're just, it's annoying.
Yeah, we can do like a ASMR. Is it ASMR or AMSR?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. We'll do that just of the clicks. But today we want to talk about our friends that have been coming through, our fans of the show.
Reaching out to you. If you're listening to us, we're reaching out to you and giving you a virtual hug.
Yes.
If you're watching us, look it.
Yeah, hug. Just a hug.
Yeah, we want to reach out to you guys and talk about how awesome you've been with us on this journey that we started last year, and specifically being able to leave awesome ratings, reviews for the show, whether it's on Apple Pods or subscribing to the YouTube channel.
Yeah, even on our Instagram, we've had a few conversations with people, and some of your favorite movies surprised us, and you're surprised by ours. Which
I mean, this is a no judgment. This is a fun zone.
Yep.
This is almost if you are going to come into this area, which is full of horror themes and scary movies, and we want you to be relaxed. So bring your favorite horror styles and genres, whether it's slashers, and relax in this paradise. It's almost like it's a slasher's paradise.
Anyway, thank you guys so much. With that said, we really want to talk about one specific review that we had on Apple Podcasts, Danny.
No, yeah, because Lance, we did say, and we do say at the end of each episode, if you don't have anything like specific to say about the show in the reviews, we say go ahead and just leave us a recommendation or a request of a show that you would like to see. Well, back in September of 2020, September 10th.
Oh my gosh, that was like a Genesis, right when we started.
It was right when we started, as a matter of fact. It was one of the earliest reviews on Apple Pods. It's by the username Nick Hams, and it was a 5-star review. And this user said, love the perspective. You guys have to cover Hereditary. Well, guess what, Nick? We're going to freaking cover Hereditary.
And Nick, I have to, above and beyond the 5-star review and the great recommendation that you made, I have to thank you because, and it's something that I know Danny wants to make a point on as well.
Mm-hmm.
This movie I had not seen, and I watched it because of you. And spoiler alert, I have a new favorite horror film, not like number one, but I have a new top 10 horror film because of you, because of your review. I watched this film and I just am so happy that I did. I'm also so pissed that I got oversold on the movie.
Okay.
We'll talk about the trailer and all that kind of stuff.
Oh, we will.
I was sold on the movie. I really wanted to watch it, and then the review trailer came out, and everyone's saying how great it was, and then another tier of people come in and start talking about like, it's okay. I am so mad that I did not watch this movie until like 2 weeks ago, and then again today. So, Nick, thank you for bringing this to the table. One thing that I did recently do to our episodes is I put the spoiler alert, and it's all because of this episode.
Mm-hmm.
So this movie is one of those experience movies So I would love for you to listen to this episode, but I really would love if you're a horror fan, horror movie fan like us, we want you to watch these movies. This is a movie you need to experience. So please, 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 spoilers ahead. Please watch this movie. I'm not going to give my review yet, but go watch this, have the experience, and we'll continue on with that. But you are warned. So let's keep going.
Thank you so much, Nick, for this recommendation. And let me just get started because I have a bone to pick. I have a problem.
You're
with,
in a pickle.
I'm not in a pickle because I'm not fast enough. But that's a reference to the Sandlot. But I have a bone to pick. We'll settle on that. I have a bone to pick with A24.
Okay.
I don't care too much for this company. And
Why?
I've talked to all my close friends about my problem with these people.
Okay.
And this is the problem.
Okay.
Don't sell me rice and give me chalk, right? Don't sell me one thing and give me quite another. And chalk actually is a reference to the movie. Anyway, here's my issue. A24. What? The Witch, right? Or is it The Vitch? Hereditary.
Yeah.
Midsummer?
Yeah.
And It Comes at Night.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes.
I have a problem with any company, any movie producing company that sells a bag of goods and delivers on a different bag of goods, because I feel like you're trying to trick me. Don't trick me. Just tell me what it is and I'll go, right? But I know they're not looking at Danny Gonzalez. They're not trying to get me specifically into the theaters. They're trying to get a lot of people into the theaters. Here's why I have a bone to pick specifically for this movie. The review trailer came out, right?
Yeah.
It's the scariest movie, scarier than The Exorcist. Okay. Why don't we all just take a step back? Because if you're going to walk into my house and just sit all over my couches with your assless chaps, all chaps are assless. The point is that why are you just throwing that big expectation on a lot of us?
Yeah. It's one of the worst things you can do, because everyone's going to go, no, it's not.
Right.
Exorcist was a phenomenon, and it also came out now 40 years ago almost, right? Or 50 years ago. Shit.
Goodness.
Where are we?
In 2 more years, it's going to be 50 years.
Good Lord.
Right?
I'm a millennial, so I go by like
No, it is,
2000,
because it was
so now I'm
73,
really lost.
right?
Yeah. 73, right?
Oh my God. No, it was 72. Next year, it's 50 years.
Wow.
Holy moly.
Damn.
We're in the end game now.
We are. Wow.
But anyway,
I can't wait to see what the 50-year anniversary brings.
Anyway.
Right. You cannot put those things out there and immediately turn a fan like myself off. Like, nope. You sold me on the first trailer. It's the bizarre, the clicking and the mood. This movie is a mood on its own. And there's one thing that I'm going to probably go into a lot. There's a lot of similarities between this movie and a lot of the movies that have been coming out the last 10 years. I don't mean that in a bad way. I think it takes it to the next level. All those little elements, those mood elements, those settings, even visually, a lot of things that we'll talk about. But comparing it to The Exorcist,
I mean, that's a huge endeavor to put that on your fans. And I get it. You're going to have the ones fans that say, no, it's not. Then you're going to have the other fans that say, oh, really? And then they go watch it expecting to see,
heads turning and
they're
green
expecting to
vomit and
see that all this stuff. But you know what, Lance? Maybe we're jumping the gun, because we got to make sure that we continue our new weekly tradition here on the show.
Oh, yes, we have a new game, even for a moody film like this.
Hey, if we're not consistent, then we're no better than A24, in my opinion.
Yeah, so
they're the ones making the millions, and we're not.
Well,
yet.
I guess we kind of are pulling an A24 right now because we are selling a moody film, a moody review, and then we're giving you a drinking game in the middle of it. It's Slashword, Danny.
It's Slashword. So this week we searched high and low.
Yeah.
We quote "Look to the Northwest." It's one of the lines from Hereditary, and we called a professional to be the guest for this week's Slashword.
Yes.
And I'm very excited. He's a very personal favorite of mine, but we got Dr. Loomis to bring us the Slashword.
Loomis is giving the Slashword today. I think he's on the line right now.
All right. So
all right. Dr. Loomis, give us and our fans the Slashword of the night.
Hello, this is Dr. Sam Loomis, bringing you the Slashword for today. It's cake. The blackest cake. The devil's cake. I spent 8 years trying to eat it, and then another 7 trying to digest it because I realized what was in that cake was purely and simply almonds.
fantastic.
Thank you so much, Dr. Loomis.
There's just something about that voice. It's perfect, is what it is.
Yes.
Why are you laughing, Lance?
I think it's not only it's Dr. Loomis, praise Dr. Loomis. It's the fact that we have a drinking game for this film.
Well,
but it is Slash's Paradise, so we have to.
So at any point in time, if you see and or hear the Slashword, how do you see words? If you hear the Slashword, take a drink of your favorite beverage. I'm having a Diet Pepsi right now because it doesn't work.
Yeah. Stay hydrated, stay safe, drink what you like, fill up your tiki cups, and here we go. Danny.
Hi. Okay, so back to this, right? So Hereditary.
Would you like to do the pumpkin spice latte now or later?
I think I want to do it now.
All right, let's do the pumpkin spice latte for
There's
Hereditary.
So many aspects of this show. I love it. The pumpkin spice latte for Hereditary. A grieving family is tormented by different apparitions and visions and are then led to believe that what is real maybe isn't, and what isn't maybe is. And it's centered around how they deal with that, all through learning secrets of their past. And there's witchcraft, wizardry. No, there's just witchcraft and some demonic forces. So it is how they deal with it and how they can not only grieve, but also get through this very scary thing, which is an entity that is tormenting them. And that's Hereditary.
Very good. Our breakdown for Hereditary. It premiered at Sundance on January 21st, 2018. But it was actually released to theaters on June 8th, 2018. The budget was $10 million. The box office was $80 million. This film was written and directed by Ari Aster. And the movie stars Toni Collette, Alex Wolff, Millie Shapiro, Gabriel Byrne, and Ann Dowd. And that is Danny's favorite character of this.
Jesus.
Okay, Danny. Just going off of your pumpkin spice latte, grief, suffering, family trauma. These are the themes of the movie.
Oh, yeah.
So remember that we said best movie since Exorcist, the scariest movie since Exorcist.
That's what the review said.
This is not a horror film right off the bat.
No, it's not.
Not at all. We start with a eulogy. We start with a funeral. We start with a grieving family. It, like I said, it's a mood. There's something in the beginning. That's one of the first things that you see is this dollhouse.
Well, yes. And real quick, what I take away from it is the opening credits. Usually it's like a quote from like Edgar Allan Poe if it's a Nightmare on Elm Street movie. But this is the obituary.
The obituary for the grandmother.
Yeah,
yes.
for the grandmother. So like, there's a lot of information right away, but it's I think that's a nice flare gun into the night sky as to that we're not going to be dealing with anything that's remotely comfortable.
Right. And once you watch the full movie, you go back to the obituary, you go back to a lot of details, the eulogy that is said after this first scene that I want to talk about, but you go back to these things and there's so many little details that you're like, oh, I missed that. And that actually means something down the road, or it's setting up the story. A lot of times when quotes come up, you might even be like, I don't know what's that.
Oh, yeah.
I don't want to read.
I've totally ignored opening quotes almost all the time.
And then you go back and you're like, oh my God, that set up the whole movie.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I mean, but you're right. Yes. The dollhouses are fucking creepy, man. I don't like them. Okay. But I wasn't playing with dollhouses, but if I see, okay, here's real quick story. My aunt had a collection of porcelain dolls.
okay.
Do I need to continue?
No.
That's freaking terrifying. They were upstairs at my grandma's house. I would walk up there, and it's the ones that, like, you know, when you move them, the eyes open.
Oh, no, not the eyes, man, because they always get stuck.
Yes. And then one of them's like, and it's like Slot from the Goonies, you know? But they were terrifying, and they're the ones, right? And there was always like, they're dressed up in clown outfits, or like, you know, they have like it's like a girl and it's like Little Bo Peep or something, right? And they always follow you with their eyes as you're walking across the room. You're like, I just came in here to get the sweater that I was supposed to get, and they're just looking at you, judging, right? They're so delicate because you're like, oh, I want to punch you, but you can't, because one, if you don't punch hard, you're gonna hurt your hand, and two, if you do break it, glass. Broken.
Right. Remember what I said about coming into this film? I was doing the horror fan eye roll, like, oh, okay. What are we watching? And you open up with the dollhouse, and something I said already in this episode is that there's a lot of things that have been done in other horror films. The dollhouse, at this point, I'm so tired of it because it never makes sense, or it's such a reach, or it's way too obvious. This movie, I did the eye roll, and as the movie goes on, went, that was amazing. They did it right.
Yeah, because you're watching the movie and the movie is happening. The scenes are like in the dollhouse,
right? Which
Toni Collette's character is a artist, but she does these miniature these dollhouses. But she like, it's like to where she makes them like very they're very intricate. You know, she's got the, you know, the monocle, sort of, not a monocle, but it's like the one. It's like what jewelers wear when they like it's like a super magnifier.
Very high detailed miniatures, but it's, I don't know if she's doing the town. She has like a big project that she has to do soon.
Yeah, somebody, a gallery obviously keeps on calling about it, and I think like it look. So is Gabriel Byrne, who's her husband, is he her broker? Because he's always, or is he just like a caring, awesome husband who's just like inquiring about?
It sounds like a family business sort of thing. I mean, he's got his. I think do we reference his career in this? But anyway, it's definitely something that he curates and talks about. But I mean, down the road, you kind of find out that there's some family history, and there's probably a reason that he's staying on top of her for her projects and making sure.
Yeah.
So, but the dollhouse thing, I just have to say, I was so fatigued by seeing it in so many movies, and it's always done in such a way like, what's the point? Or cool, like you played out a scene, but it just doesn't like stay with you. The movie, I was at the Lodge recently.
You're not. The Lodge was
not good at all. So if you like,
I feel like we're on opposite ends of a room almost.
Just watch The Shining or watch the others. You don't need to watch The Lodge.
Wow.
Anyway, pointless dollhouse. In this one, not pointless at all.
No. I mean, look, I'm not gonna say that you're wrong or about The Lodge. Like, yes, sometimes creepy images are used for the sake of being creepy.
Yeah.
You know, I'm gonna get a dollhouse, or I'm gonna get porcelain dolls, or, you know, whatever cliche creepy imagery. But this one, it had a point, and it had you're almost like, because it's zooming in, it zooms into the dollhouse, and you're like, okay, it's a bedroom, cool, I guess it's good. And then it zooms in, and then once it gets the framing right, it is the movie.
Yeah.
That's freaking phenomenal.
It's phenomenal, but again, it plays with Annie, the Toni Collette's character. It plays with what her actual job is, and it comes back so many times. You can see the psyche of where she's at in her grieving, in her anger, in her everything by the scenes that she's starting to create, and it kind of starts to deteriorate. What, Danny?
It's not about what you're saying, Lance. It's about another bone I have to pick. with whoever makes the decisions. Okay, look. Oscars, right? The Oscars, right? They're fine. They're blown up awards assembly, yada, yada, yada. All right. It's a very prestigious moment for any actor, anybody involved in cinema and whatnot. The Oscars, I feel, have a prejudice against horror movies.
Absolutely.
Okay. Lest we forget, by the way, it was 1973 that The Exorcist came out, and The Exorcist was nominated for Best Picture, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
But it was Linda Blair was nominated for Best Actor or Best Supporting.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure. Not since then have we seen like any real kudos being paid to the horror genre. When this movie came out, everyone was like, and me included, when I finally saw it, holy moly, Toni Collette, runaway.
Yeah.
Best actress category. She's going to run away with it. She wasn't even nominated.
Yeah.
What the flying shit is going on here? What the flying crouched up in the corner of a room, swimming across the ceiling shit is going on here? What in the holy hell of... It made me want to run my head into a freaking light pole and lose it when I saw that she didn't get nominated. From now on, by the way, this is just turning into a Toni Collette appreciation day for me, because Toni Collette is not only phenomenal. Oh my God. It's like, because I don't know if y'all know, but I am an actor as well. Whenever you see a performance like that, it can be so intimidating.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
that is an incredibly intimidating performance, awe-inspiring. But like, okay, Toni Collette, this is like horror movie with a purpose, right? Like always a message, always like on the fringe.
Yeah.
Fringe horror movies, like thriller slash
or dark comedy like Krampus.
So Krampus, Hereditary, but lest we forget, she was brand new to us in The Sixth Sense.
Yes. But again, the purpose, right? The purpose of the horror film. You think it's a thriller the whole time, and it's
sure.
just got some stuff going on. But you're right.
No, but I mean, like, Toni Collette was wholeheartedly, 100%, unequivocally. I'm not saying anything new that anyone who has seen this movie and has not heard the pundits say, robbed for this performance.
Absolutely.
If you watch this movie for no other reason besides watching it for Toni Collette's performance, you're doing yourself a service by doing that. Watch it just for that moment, for that entire moment, which is her awesome performance. But not just her. This cast really, I think it was so beautifully cast.
Yes.
Not only Toni Collette, but
Alex Wolff.
That's your boy.
That's my boy from this film. I didn't really know Alex Wolff before this, but now I'm going to start watching everything. It's just like Heath Ledger. Once Heath Ledger was on your map, I'm going to watch everything he does. Yeah. Michael Keaton, everything. I'm going to watch everything Michael Keaton does.
That's my guy.
This dude, he went full method for this, kind of at the request of Ari Aster, who wrote and directed the film. He kind of had the characters going out together, and he kind of promoted a method, which you can speak way more for than I can, but just the interesting facts of this. He wanted these dynamics to be real, so he would send them out to lunch together, but they had to be in character.
Oh, that must have been annoying for the people around. What was his name? Wolff?
Alex Wolff?
Because
who plays Peter?
Peter. He's very moody, and he's very
moody. Yes. But he has a dynamic with Charlie, his little sister. It's kind of caring, but he's also he's like a pothead, and
he's just a high school kid. Like, he's not the popular kid, but he's not, ostracized. He's not bullied or anything. He's pretty much in the middle. He's got his group of friends, he's dealing with whatever boys still, deal with in that age. They're, they're looking at girls or they're coming into their own, adulthood. And so, yeah, like the stereotypical moments of like a high school drama or what a teen would go through are there,
right. Yeah, and he pulls you in because he's so real in that sense. Like, he's got a crush on the girl that sits in front of him. He kind of just stares at her at times, but he has the guts to talk to her. And like, oh, you want to smoke weed? Like, I have a really, that's his.
Yeah.
What are you smiling at?
I'm smiling. Look, I have to find a fine line in how I talk about certain things, but like, just because I'm not meaning any offense to the actors and or the performances themselves, but like sometimes they make me laugh. It's very uncomfortable to hear somebody cry. Okay, it's very uncomfortable to hear somebody like cry, moan, and scream. Right when he does it, it's because his voice is kind of like at that deep register. It just it's uncomfortable. It just makes me laugh sometimes. That's all. It makes me laugh because he's like, he's at a deeper voice.
Man,
what the fuck? I can't talk about it.
It's so guttural at times. I mean, when he loses it over an incident, which we'll get to in a minute, but that scene, it's so guttural because his friends are just going off. Remember, I'm talking about under the bleachers. His friends are going off about God knows what and just kind of getting stoned.
They're talking about nothing, but yes.
And he loses it and just needs his hand held by a friend. Like, imagine being 16, 17-year-old kid and having to like be one of the cool kids, the pressures of high school and all this kind of stuff, and be like, just hold my hands. Like, and he's just losing. You watch him melt. A lot of times when he goes into the emotional scenes, when he starts crying, you see it well up in his eyes. You see his face just melt. I just love his character. I love everything that he did in this film.
You're right. I mean, I would be a little prick about it, but like, look, we're talking about that moment and everything, after that moment and a little bit before, because here comes the huge spoiler, guys. Okay. There is so it deals with with trauma already, or grief already, right? But it's almost like it's an accepted grief because it's a grandma passing away. She was older. The eulogy is very weird, right? Toni Collette,
right?
It's like I would be awkward hearing a daughter talk about her mother that way in a eulogy, but it's almost seemed like a therapy session, but she's doing it there at the funeral home.
Yeah, I mean, her and her mom were estranged and then kind of close. I mean, but it sets up what their relationship was, which kind of becomes important down the road. But it is uncomfortable, and it's just like, you can't quite touch it. If you're estranged from your mother, you'll probably there's a lot of things in this movie. Like, if you've experienced this kind of thing with your family, you're going to get it. It's going to hit really deep.
Oh, sure. Yeah. But I mean, I think at one point or another, somebody, we can all have or do go through loss of a family member. This one, it was like, okay, these are normal things that I am ready for. And then like, well, that's not, I've usually been at more, I guess, like non-drama filled eulogies. So when she's like kind of like airing, her, I guess, like her personal grievances with her mom, it's like kind of, and it's like, it's so kind of glossed over. I think everyone in the audience is, they're dealing with it in their own way, but nobody really like calls her out on it. But here's the thing. That's the grief in the beginning, but there is a huge traumatic moment in the movie itself, or that you see play out rather, that is a tipping point for, I guess, when the movie was already, like on three wheels at this point, because it's like, okay, this is, uncomfortable. Then it really just like, goes into overdrive.
Like I said, it's a mood. We're setting up the characters and all this kind of stuff. We know that there's some kind of oddness between the family. And we're introduced to Charlie, kind of an odd girl. I mean, she does these bizarre drawings and this clicking sound she actually has during her grandmother's funeral while she's, doodling these odd and kind of creepy photos. And even her dad's like, okay, let's stop.
Yeah, she's an incredibly odd ball, but you know what? Like, it doesn't look like they have.
But she's functioning. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like, she's totally like it. She's just odd. She maybe the depiction is a little as if maybe alluding to maybe she may be on the spectrum or something like that, but I'm not sure, and I don't want to make assumptions, but she is very much functioning within the surroundings, but is odd and does these tongue clicks and does these odd drawings and does these like sculptures. But it's revealed that the relationship between Charlie and the grandma was very close, almost to the point of like, ugh.
Yeah.
Cause, yeah.
Go ahead.
No. Okay, so it's actually depicted in the dollhouse. It's one of the miniatures. Annie does references. This is Toni Collette's character references that. Yeah. Oh, when you were growing up, you know, your grandma took so good care of you, and you were her favorite, and insisted that she had to feed you, and wouldn't even let me. And I'm over here thinking, I'm like, okay, what? She got the bottle and like fed her. No. The grandma breastfed the daughter, the granddaughter, you know, and it's like, it's shown in miniatures, and you're like, ugh.
Yeah. But that does so much, because it's also.
Yeah, it does so much. It freaking creeps me the hell out.
Well, it's creepy, but it's also Annie portrays this thing. Like she's the one that is carving these little miniatures and stuff. And she's the one that sets up this scene of her mom. Well, it's Annie holding Charlie as a baby and her mom with her breast out. But the fact that Annie is recreating that scene, why is she recreating that scene? That's so bizarre and it's so creepy.
Well, so wait, we're talking about trauma at all the different levels. It doesn't have to be on the start, because like Annie it's alluded to that, or you assume that she's got it pretty much together, because she's like doing her, you know, her work and stuff like that, and she's having normal conversations with her daughter and with Peter. So it's like, you know, for the most part. But as the movie goes on, you realize that she was never really okay. You know, I mean, from the eulogy, you know, that's like, huh, that's interesting. Maybe she just had a moment there, but no, she's definitely dealing with a lot of the past that's kind of reared its ugly head at this point.
Right.
But the big moment, I still haven't got to it. I'm about to. So Peter asks, hey, I want to go to a party. And, you know, Annie, his mom, is just giving him like a who's going to be there sort of thing that you do when you go to a party, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to be by myself. Or I'm not going to. She's like, oh, are you going to take your sister? Right?
Yeah.
But it's like, I talked to Caitlin about this. I'm like, I just don't. It didn't. We've all heard and gone through, I think, at one point or another, whether you were the younger sibling or not, or seen it depicted. Okay, but you can only go to the party if you take your brother, take your sister, you know, and it's like, oh, mom, oh my God, I don't want to, you know. There's an age gap. There's a significant age gap. She would be out of place, but I guess this was just like.
Not really. She's 13 and he's like 16, 17.
Okay, well, maybe she just is she's a young looking 13, right? I mean, but here's the thing. Like, I get it from the mom's perspective about trying to get her daughter, like, you know, out of the house, and she knows that she's dealing with, you know, the grandma passing away a little differently. You know, she's talking about daughter's name? Charlie, talking about Charlie. So convinces Peter to take Charlie to the party. The party is happening, and, you know, they're just hanging out, and Charlie's just kind of, you know, in between, just doing nothing. And Peter, like you said, does approach a girl, tries to talk to her, says, hey, I have really good weed. They're going to go to the room to go smoke it. And Charlie stops him because she's like, I don't know anybody here. Like, you know, don't leave me. And he's like, hey, can you just hang out for a little bit? She's like, no. And you feel bad for her. Like, you know, she's obviously awkward in this moment. But then this whole time they've been making cake. You know, they're going to make it. That's a badass party, by the way. Let me just tell you something.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Who makes a cake at a party? But.
Fucking the best party. You're just making a big ass chocolate cake, and they're starting to cut pieces and give them out. Anyone watching the movie knows Ari's shit's wrong, because earlier in the movie, they show Charlie eating a chocolate bar, and her dad asks, hey, there's no nuts in that, right? She's like, no. Okay, because we don't have the EpiPen. Okay, she's allergic to nuts. They are being gratuitous with how much freaking nuts they're putting into this cake.
It's funny that you say that, because the first time I watched it, I thought nothing of it. Today, when I watched it, I was like, oh my God, it was right in front of me the whole time. But yeah, you're right. Like, just walnuts just getting chopped. And like, I've been to big parties kind of like that. Oh, yeah, nobody was in the kitchen making a cake. You know what I mean? Like,
I've been on the big parties, you know.
It's this generation, man. Like, you guys are, you know, doing all kinds of new stuff. But
yeah, just making cakes at parties, at a banger of a party, by the way. Like, that party was fun. Yeah. And it wasn't like crazy or anything like that when I say, but like, okay, so they're making the cake. They make the cake. They may have been, that was too, I watched the great British baking show. Okay.
That's a very-
I know how fast you have to turn a cake around. Okay. So that they may have had another cake and they were just like, let's make another one because this cake is amazing. So they started to, I've just said cake too many times. You cut it. And next thing you know, you just see Charlie going Nick Hams on this cake. And you know that there's nuts in there. So you know something's about to happen.
Right.
Well, something does happen. She has an allergic reaction. She finds Peter. She says, Peter, I can't breathe. My throat is closing. And he realizes what's going on. So it's so sweet the way he's carrying her. You saw that?
Yeah. Yeah. I love, I mean, we have to set up one thing before this, which was Peter and Annie right before he asks, can I go to the party? And it's kind of pushed like, you know, you can take your sister. Because Annie is constantly pushing Charlie to like be normal or do normal things or something like that.
Yes.
But Annie says to Peter, "Are you gonna drink?" Well, we're not old enough. I love that.
Oh, right.
Well,
yeah.
we're not old enough to drink. Oh, that's bullshit. Are you gonna drink? You know,
because he's giving it back to her. You know, like he's like kind of
in a very light way, not the cliche way of Mom, I can't drink. You know, it's not a slasher flick.
No, not at all.
It's a very real, like, I'm not old enough to drink, Mom. We're not comfortable talking about that yet, are we? Like, there's moments you have with your mom, right? Where you're like, I'm not talking about that yet. And she's like, that's bullshit. Are you going to be drinking tonight?
Yeah. He's like, well, you're not old enough to buy the drinks if we want to. She's like, dude.
Okay. So,
okay.
But he's kind of like, yeah, I'll take her if she wants to go.
Yeah,
you know?
he never really fights it, but he does in this moment. He's just like, hey, I'm just going to go hang out because he's like, he really likes the girl. It you know, you would assume. So he's like, I want to go hang out with her and stuff like that. And
so
so he has to leave the party.
So he has to leave the party, but there's a kindness that he has towards Charlie.
Of course,
you know, and now he's panicking because he's like, oh shit, this is my responsibility.
Yeah.
And now I'm high, which I told my mom I wasn't going to drink. We never talked about drugs or anything else.
I mean, he probably was right. He's like, because he's like, I'm a pot smoker. I don't
Come on, Mom, I don't drink. God. Weed, on the other hand.
Yeah, I'm gonna
so
do a shitload of
it is a panic. It is a caring moment. You're like, oh shit. There's a sense of, I think panic is just the word. It's not even suspenseful. It's just like, oh shit, this is a big deal.
Because, you know, the party is a little bit out in the boonies. So it's like, is he going to get to wherever he needs to get to on time? Does he have the EpiPen in the car? Who knows? So he gets her in the car. She's in the backseat and she's hyperventilating. She cannot breathe. And she's like, you know, she's, you know, grabbing at her throat and stuff. It's very uncomfortable. He's like, I'm going to get you to the hospital, Charlie. I'm sorry. And she rolls down the window because she's like, I can't breathe. So she like needs air, right? She sticks her head out the window. Okay. She sticks her head out the window and Peter's driving, looks back to her. He says, you know, hey, what do you know? Or just maybe says her name. There's a dead deer in the road. He veers to miss the deer that's on the road. And he veers so much that he gets right next to a telephone pole that Charlie's head hits and she gets decapitated immediately.
Yes. And it is gruesome. And I think we're almost at the exact time mark that this happened. I was watching this and I text Danny. I'm like, well, I'm depressed now.
I mean, she got her block knocked off by the telephone pole.
It's literally like 32 minutes into the film because I remember looking at it like, you sold me. The trailer was all about this girl and her mom. I didn't even see, I didn't see Peter barely in the trailer. So you just took her out of the equation 30 minutes into a 2.5 hour movie or however long it is. I'm like, what am I watching now? And this gruesome, like terrifying accident. Those are what get me. Final Destination got me as a kid when I watched that film. Like accidental things and gruesome, brutality. That is so like guttural. It just like it tears me up to see that. You know what I mean? So
yeah, I do.
Scene,
this scene, I think what also makes it so effective is because of as soon as she goes to Peter in the party, it's like. By the way, I also have to talk about the sound. If you notice, if you turn it up, or like, you don't have to turn it up, just have it at a normal volume. You'll think that you're like kind of you're yourself being uneasy. They feed like a bass overall, like almost like static, like. Like when like tension is rising or something like that. It's very unnerving. But anyway, the intensity is risen, right? And he's like carrying Charlie, Charlie, we're gonna get there. We're gonna go. She's like, I can't breathe. Window, deer, head off. Stillness.
Yeah. And that's what makes it so effective.
And they let the stillness they let you live in that moment. And Alex Wolff does Alex, right?
Yes.
It is an amazing job in this moment because he just sits there. He is so obviously traumatized as to what just happened. He knows what just happened, but it's almost like he doesn't want to turn around because he's like, I know she's not there, or if anything, she is barely hanging on to life. I know it. I know. And you could see he looks in the rearview mirror and he sees her, it's a very quick shot. He sees her decapitated body still sitting in the back seat. Guys, we're not making this shit up. It's freaking disturbing. It's Disturbia, okay? Starring Shia LaBeouf. It is so, whoa.
There's so many things about this scene that I want to talk about. And it's exactly what you just talked about. He's sitting there just completely still. And like I said, he melts. His eyes are just welting the whole time. And I don't know if you caught it, but he kind of goes like, huh, like he's going to say, are you okay? But he can't. And then then we go down to the foot on the brake and the car is stopped. Everything is done. And he slowly lets his foot off the brake. This actual moment was based on a true event. Yes, I believe it was in Georgia, and correct me if I'm wrong on the reviews, if you write us one. But I believe it was in Georgia. There was two young men that got drunk from a party. One of them swerved off, decapitated his friend, did not know that he had done this. So this is obviously the difference in these two things, but he didn't know that he did it. Then he goes home, gets in bed, not knowing that his decapitated friend is still in the back seat. So this was actually a real life event that we played into our movie. So.
I think that's probably the moment myself where I was like screaming at I mean, I was screaming a lot, but I was like screaming at the movie because I was like, tell somebody, do something. Peter just gets home, parks the car. The decapitated body is still in the back. The amount of blood, I don't even want to talk. Okay, anyway, he goes into his house and he just lays down and goes to sleep. You know what I mean? I'm not going to sit here and say you have to process trauma this way. I'm not going to do that. I'm talking about this in the level of intensity. I'm talking about this because the movie did an amazing job in showing us this moment, right?
Yes.
So it doesn't still change the fact that I'm still screaming my fucking head off. Tell somebody! And he doesn't. So we have to listen the next morning and I watched it the second time recently with captions on. By the way, let me just say something real quick about captions. Side note. Watch movies with captions on sometimes. If you're going to do like
second viewing.
Yes, if you're going to do like a second viewing or something like that. Because my second viewing of Black Christmas, I was so happy that I had the subtitles.
I still
on.
need to do that. Yeah.
You need to. But a lot of times things get lost but things get so much added with these subtitles because in the descriptions, it'll say like, whatever, inaudible, but like, I will say, oh, I hear her crying, but it will say there, and I'm just using this as an example, oh, she's crying, which is like moans excruciatingly.
Right.
And I'm like, oh, that changes the moment, right? Okay. So he goes to sleep and wakes up in the morning and you hear Toni Collette, you hear Annie talking to Gabriel Byrne, her husband. It's like, hey, I'm gonna go out. Okay, cool. Do you need anything? No. And it's like, how many? I mean, I've had this conversation. I've had this like, hey, I'm gonna go to the store real quick. Do you need anything? It's like, so you're almost like, oh my god, you're about to have the most traumatic experience of your life right this moment, and you never see it. You never see her see the body. You just hear it all. But the focus is Peter's face. Oh, dude, it's so like, because, okay, you want to talk about another reason why Toni Collette is phenomenal. Her anguish in this moment is so... It's like a huge weighted blanket that you just kind of put on. You're just like, oh Man,
You feel
it's
it.
Awful.
I was playing this earlier loud on my TV, and my fiance heard it in the other room. She's like, "That's giving me so much fucking anxiety. What is that? Like, I can't handle it anymore." I had to like mute it and get past this scene because it's that blood curdling and also emotional. And again, if you've suffered any family trauma or any of these moments, and it's weird because I didn't think about it until just now. I've had one of these moments where you're talking about where it's just like normal part of the day, and then all of a sudden there's just drama happening and somebody's incapacitated or something's going on. It happened to my mom actually, but that moment was so anxiety ridden, and it kind of ties in with the music that we had just heard, where it's just like anxiety, but it's so real and so true. And I go back to Peter, he's asleep in this, and it's almost like I just put myself in his shoes thinking this has to be a nightmare. There's no way my normal life was just changed that much.
Right.
So you wake up to the trauma hitting the real world, and he's just still in shock. And
it's just
God, this scene,
like,
man, like,
guys, I'm glad we're still playing Slashword at this point, but like the point is that this is a heavy roller coaster of a movie. We're not going to talk about every scene, but obviously this one is a huge tipping point throughout the entire thing. But we'll talk about a little bit more about, the specifics of the plot. So it's revealed that, and also one more thing, they show the head anyway. Okay. So going forward, there's a little bit of, Toni Collette's going to grief counseling. It's revealed that she had a traumatic experience. She sleepwalks and had a traumatic experience is the reason that Peter views her a little bit differently. She sleptwalk and doused Peter and Charlie when they were younger
and
herself in paint thinner, and woke herself up by striking the matches. So, okay, this family's fucked up. Okay, but you remove the horror elements. This could be a very messed up, traumatic family. Add the horror elements.
We haven't really touched on horror elements besides, she sees her mom for 1 second in the very beginning. Annie sees her mom.
It's terrifying.
It is a terrifying scene, but it's
scary.
so like, it's just like you see a faded figure.
And she's smiling. Okay, I have to say something, Lance. If you put a figure in the dark and you make them smile at me, he's smiling at me.
Smiling.
Anyway, it's going to be extra creepy. The figure's in the corner, right? All right, so tonight, when you guys are in your room, practice, okay? What? When you're in your room tonight, turn out all the lights. You're about to go to bed, okay? And usually the figure that's in the corner it's always there, right? Okay, so the figure in the corner, imagine then when you see it, imagine it smiling at you.
Yeah.
It's extra creepy, right? I'm the figure. I'm in the corner, and I apologize for you that are just listening, but if you watch this is the moment, right? So I'm in the figure in the corner. I'm just like, oh shit, that guy's scary, right?
There's somebody there.
Man, there's somebody there. Okay, I'm the figure in the corner now.
Nope.
Right? It's also the way I smile too. Anyway, it's just extra, okay? And that's not the only time in the movie you're going to see smiling people in the darkness corner, okay? So that's all I'm saying. Adding smiling to it. It's like when I always said, it was like, when you go into these slasher movies, right? And they're walking around, they're like, hello? Claude? No. Is anyone there? I was like, is anyone there? I was like, how scary would it be if they're like, is anyone there? Yes.
Yeah.
Like somebody finally answers them, but answers them in the way, I guess it's like almost like Batman Begins. Where are you?
Oh,
here. Ooh.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's all I'm going to talk about.
Yeah, the smiling faces. Oh man. And again, this is a precursor. There's something kind of thrown in there. We're like, oh, that was weird. And then later on, it's a super creepy sting. You're like, oh fuck, why is that back? Anyway, the music of this, I talked about the mood. I kind of want to talk about we didn't even get to our Halloween part, which we got to talk about. But the composer Colin Stetson found inspiration for the score through the sounds of water and animals while walking around in pitch black night. That is the mood setter of this film. Imagine that.
I can, because one time You know,
I've-
as all of you know, I grew up on the ranch. That's my Cameron Tucker from Modern Family sort of thing. Anyway,
Okay.
so y'all know I grew up on the ranch, and one time I was, because look, when it gets dark in the country, it gets dark. If the moon's not out and shining bright, you are going to see absolutely diddly squat.
Right.
Okay, so one time I was hunting, right? And yeah, the rule. If you are, never get out of the blind until I come back for you. That's my dad telling me, never get out of the blind until I come back for you. Fine. And not all blinds are made the same, right? So this blind was 2 tractor tires on top of each other, right? And you're inside the tractor tires and on top of a platform. Very cool, very awesome, very efficient. Okay, I'm done hunting, right? The sun is going down. I'm like, where are you, Dad? The sun is now down completely. It is pitch black. Dude. Pitch black. And Dad's eventually, I see the lights, he's coming, but he's far away. But it is so dark, and then all I hear is I was like, what the freak is going on? And I'm like, I have a rifle. I'm not going to be able to, like help myself. I'm not. And it was like, I told my dad, I'm like, and then I heard, he was like, it was an owl, probably. Come, like that's probably where they live. I'm like, is that where they live?
Yeah.
Anyway,
that always makes me, this is total side note, but I always think about, oh my God, bats and owls. And then you see the bullshit that's living in Australia, and you're like, you imagine fucking man bat just flying around over you.
No, because if a bat flies by, it was like right here in America, but bats over there in Australia, it's like,
They're literally the size of my fiance. Like, they are huge.
Whoa.
They are huge bats in Australia. So
Bats.
Fuck.
Anyway, back to the movie.
Back to the movie.
Right. The music is so unnerving, because there are a lot of points in the movie where you don't even think that you're listening to music. You're like,
yeah,
what is that? It's just, and I did it last night when I was watching it. I paused it. I'm like, okay, what speaker is busted? And it was the movie. It was, because it's just like,
right.
Anyway.
And imagine that in indoor scenes and outdoor scenes, and it is very woodsy. It's the Northwest, right, or Oregon or Portland, somewhere in there.
I think so, yeah.
And it's just so fucking creepy the whole time. But then again, those scenes where we get to just play out the scene, which is so important. I feel like a lot of people don't let actors continue the scene and let things set in. That's what makes it so much more real, is like you get to feel those things. That on top of, again, this is something else that's been done quite a bit with like the Conjuring movies and Insidious movies. When you have a lot to look at in a house and the house is creepy itself, a good chunk of this movie, when they're inside of their house, I'm like looking around, like there's something going on here. And there's actually pagan symbolism and on different stories of the house and different parts of the house, and they have different meanings. Like there's triangles for like the Trinity of the women, or being the anti-Trinity, which we turn out to be kind of heading towards. There's squares, there's circles, which is like the idea of Genesis or infinity and all this kind of stuff. So again, watch this movie, but watch it 2, 3, 4 times. Watch it with the subtitles. Watch all of it, because there's so much going on with this mood of music and these wide open scenes where there's more going on in the background, which I love. I've talked about that with you. The Paranormal Activity movies, I think, are not rewatchable because there's nothing going on in the background. You know what I mean? Like you get to see the action. Oh, cool. There's a ghost thing, but there's not more going on, which I always thought was missing.
Which is why The Haunting of Hill House is good, when going into the beginning, episode 1, that there are so many hidden things. Not like Where's Waldo? There are hidden ghosts in The Haunting of Hill House, and I think Bly Manor as well. So it's like that aspect. And you mentioned Conjuring and Insidious, like James Wan is a magician at doing that, where your eyes are like, where is it?
Yeah.
Where is it? And maybe it's there, but maybe it's not. And that is the point, right? It's what Alfred Hitchcock said, is the way he does terror. He's like, he's like 2 scenes. It's like, the man's got the bomb, and it's like, he walks into a room and he's holding a bomb. It's about to explode. He's like, all right, now do the scene again, except you don't tell the audience about the bomb. You put the bomb in the desk, and there's 2 men talking about baseball, but you tell the audience about the bomb, except the 2 guys talking about baseball don't know it. And what are they saying? Stop talking about baseball. There's a bomb in the desk, right? So it's like, it's not about what you show, it's about what you don't show. And I think you're right. This movie does do that very well. However, I will say this. This is me personally, because this is what Slash Paradise is. Obviously, this is about how we feel towards certain things. I know I'm not stupid. Okay. I know that when you think of witchcraft and Wiccan, what is it?
Wiccan?
Yeah. It's not summoning the devil all the time. I understand that. I know that. But in this case, it is in this movie. I don't like that shit. Okay. Was raised Catholic. It scares the shit out of me. Okay. I didn't like it personally when it eventually gets to the end because, like, look, yes, there are it is centered around a coven. Okay. Blah, blah, blah. Spoiler alert. The grandma who just died was the head of the coven. Okay. Mm-hmm. She's the head of the coven. And it is revealed that throughout that this family has been trying to summon a king of hell to possess a body of one of the children to then live on to the people who conjured up, and his name is Paimon
demon.
Ugh, I got chills just saying it because no me gusta. I hate that shit, man. I don't like it. But it was really scary, and I guess that's probably the aspect of where someone would say it's scarier than The Exorcist, right? Because it deals with religious emotions here, because say what you want. The fact that is, if you're talking about hell and layers of hell, Paimon, you are one of the 8 kings of hell. First of all, I don't know there was kings in hell. This is ridiculous. But that is all introduced through religious literature. Religion has introduced these aspects, right? Mm-hmm. So maybe there is that coalition and that tie-in. But for me, personally, ooh, that scared the shit out of me, man. I hated it because I'm like, no, I came so far to believe about that witches and Wiccan and all that stuff is not necessarily about putting a spell on someone so that, they vomit frogs or whatever the hell, right. Like I've come a long way, and now you're showing me this movie, and what does it show me? That these witches are summoning kings of hell. Okay. So that just does great with the relationship I have with witches there.
It's not just, it's a cult film, which away from slashers is like one of my favorite things. I'm into the occult. It's more of a researching thing. Like I just love to know about other religions and, away from my own, but that's my thing. So away from slasher flicks, this is where you get me. So you got me with a well-acted family trauma, a family trauma film. And then you add the coven aspect to it. I was like, well, thank you. I love it. Plus you have possessions going on. And that's where I'm like, oh man, this movie, it's become one of my top 10 because of those elements being latched on at the end. You know what I mean? Like the whole movie is not about witchcraft or cults or any of that kind of stuff.
No, it's not about
end. It like comes together, and
it's not about the whole movie, right? You're right, but it sticks the landing. Okay, this movie really does stick the landing. And what do we talk about with Bloody Valentine?
What?
Endings matter. Okay, the remake. Endings matter, and this ending, holy shit. Okay, look, I don't want to like go scene by scene or step by step, but I will a little bit because there is a moment where eventually. This Paimon has been summoned and is jumping from pretty much person to person and like infecting them in certain ways. But it is revealed that apparently Paimon needs to live in a male host, and that Charlie was supposed to be a boy. So that because she was the chosen host for Paimon.
Yeah.
But Charlie was a girl. So they're going by the ways of correcting that, I suppose, this coven, okay? Pays no mind to the fact that, they're continuing on now that even though Lee or the grandma has passed away. But, oh, dude, if you want scary shit, and now Flash back to all the things I was talking about when the Toni Collette. I'm like, this really knocks my head off. This really makes me want to creep in a corner. All that is because obviously the knocking the head off. But the second one, Toni Collette then gets pretty much possessed and is Peter has a moment at his school where he breaks his own nose because he's been tormented by this, the spirit and this force, and he goes home and he falls asleep, right? They bring him home, and at one point Annie, who's Toni Collette, is so convinced that if you burn the book that she was able to conjure,
right?
Gosh. Okay, I'm sorry, guys. I have to time out and I have to just say one thing. Fuck Joan. I'm sorry. I hate her. I hate her because she had an agenda and she messed with this family who probably could have got through this trauma, but she was like, second witch to the...
She's perpetuating everything coming to light. I don't know where you're going with Joan, but Joan she's the one that gets Annie into therapy and all this kind of stuff and becomes her friend. And
that's all bullshit. That's why I say fuck Joan, because she preyed upon Annie.
Yeah.
She knew that she was going to be able to she knew that she had the tricks. She's a witch, she knew what to do. So she was able to, attack the vulnerability of Annie, who had just lost Charlie, and get her to do. She was like, you got to say these spells and everyone has to be in the house. That was all for the fucking, Pangea. What's it for payment? What's his name? Paimon. It was all for him. It was all for Pandora. So
you're really going to anger a real demon right now, Danny?
That's actually, you know what?
Yeah.
I believe in God and I'm protected. So
there you go. Okay.
Anyway, says burn the thing that is Charlie's scrapbook. She tells Gabriel Byrne to do it. He doesn't want to do it. He's like, you need help. Oh my God. By the way, we haven't even talked about Gabriel Byrne, how amazing this dude is, and how as this father character trying to keep it together. I mean, he's like so underappreciated as an actor, Gabriel Byrne.
Yes. And even in this movie, I kind of said it to you. It's like having Babe Ruth or something on the bench. You know what I mean? Like, he doesn't even shine. I don't.
He doesn't flex his.
He doesn't even have to. You know what I mean?
Acting muscles, basically.
I think Toni Collette and Alex Wolff steal the show in this, and then you still have Gabriel Byrne just kind of sitting there and perpetuating the story, and still so good and like. Man, like imagine just having that DH.
I mean, seriously, Gabriel Byrne. If you guys don't know, started in. He's been an actor for so long, and he's so wide array. He could do so much. But I remember him specifically from End of Days. Come on, he plays the devil. It's all tied together. End of Days, starring Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yes,
come on, do it.
Come on,
let's get serious.
All right, like back to the scene in the fireplace.
So the scene, she's like, throw it in the fire. I can't do it because when I threw it in the fire, I started burning. Because obviously that's a link to. Whatever, guys. Okay. So he's like, I'm not going to do it. You're sick. And she's like, oh, fuck it. She gets it and she throws it in the fire and he burns to a crisp. Okay. Peter has slept through this whole thing. He wakes up and what is happening? Because as she's seen her husband, burned to death, she's like, ah, and then there's just like a change in her face and you could tell something's up. Right.
Yeah.
So now she's got the demon in her. It's that he wakes up, and try this at night when you're going to sleep too, guys. This is another fun thing to try in the dark. Okay. So he wakes up, and if you ever wake up in the middle of the night, just imagine that something is in the corner of your room, in the darkest corner, and your eyes, remember you wake up and you can't really see because it's dark in there if you sleep in the dark. And it's just like in the corner
on the ceiling,
up in the top. Right? So just try it at home. This is a DIY. And it's just there. And Peter's waking up slowly. And it's Toni Collette. But you don't see her face. Her hair's in front of her. So it's, actually, it's very Reagan-ish, because it's like she's got almost like pajamas that she's wearing, right? And she's like in the corner. And like he's waking up. And this is the creepy part. It's like almost Exorcist 3, except this is done way better. Exorcist 3 is ridiculous.
I know.
Okay. he is looking around, and right when he think he's gonna look to see where she's at, she freaking swims through the air like a little demon goblin and just like leaves. It's very, very creepy. Anyway,
it's disturbing because again, we get a lot of screen time where you're just looking at this thing in the corner. You let it sit. You know what I mean? It's not like, oh, there it is, and now it's done. Like, he's waking up, he's broken his own nose. By the way, that scene I kind of told you about. He went so method that he asked Ari Aster if he could actually smash his face into a real desk and break his nose for real. They said, no, we're going to pass on that. And he's like, okay, but can I smash my face? I goes, yeah, you can smash your face. We're going to put some padding down there. He smashed his face so hard that he actually re-dislocated his jaw, an old injury. And when he's doing the scene where he's got his arm up and he's kind of becoming like maybe possessed or something.
He's been torn, yeah.
And he actually dislocates his jaw on this. So again, back to this scene, he's waking up so slow. The suspense is there. And I mean, I got a big screen. I had all the lights off at this point because I'm like, I'm invested in this movie.
Remember, I told you, I said, watch it, but watch it. You know, like
watch it. Yes,
like
you don't just put it on in the background.
Yeah.
You need, have the experience, surround sound. So I'm sitting on my couch and I'm by myself. I got Charles, my dog, with me, and I'm just like, I'm sitting back watching her in the corner. Like, what the fuck is she gonna do? What's happening? And I don't even care about his traumatized ass, who's like, well, I just woke up, I broke my nose. What's going on? I have family trauma, and oh my god, that scene, dude.
Yes,
so effective.
Yes. Okay. And you know what, folks? I don't think I want to spoil the rest of the ending. Okay. You just got to watch it. Eventually it does come to a culmination at the end, where, it's revealed that they do bring forth the king of hell. And I don't even like saying it. I hate that shit, but, they bring him forth and he's now in Peter and there's a coven. Oh, got to share this real quick. Sorry. See, my mom and I share a love for horror movies. Okay. Yes. We love horror movies. I mean, there's a specific type of horror movie that I could watch with my brother. He would never watch anything like this. He hates like possession, stuff like that, because we're, the same. No, my mom and I can watch anything. Okay. Caitlin as well. Okay. But my mom had seen this movie before I did. Okay. She saw it in the theaters. And I really trust my mom's reviews and like, is it good or is it not good? But I think we're starting to kind of drift as far as like what we can watch, or like sometimes you're in the mood for something. No, I get it. And but it's probably what A24 did. She went into it probably watching and wanting to see the scariest movie since The Exorcist, and it didn't happen, right? So she came out of the movie and called me from Texas, and I was like, hey, what's going on? How is the movie? She's like, don't even waste your time with this movie. They shouldn't even have called it Hereditary. They should call it Old Man's Balls. I said, what? And she said, yeah, because there's a bunch of old men naked and you can see their balls, and I'm not down with that. And I was like, okay. So in the beginning, I didn't watch it in theaters, but I have a pretty decent setup at home. So like I watched it, right? Yeah. It was fine. But I remember her saying that, and then I was like, where are the old men's balls? Like throughout the whole movie, I'm like, where did she get this from? Oh, you get old men's balls. You get them in spades. You get a lot of them at the end because it's the coven and they're all naked. It's almost like the Greasy Strangler. They're all naked and they're all smiling.
Yes, that's true.
What?
No, but
old man's balls.
Old man's balls. The most effective, well, besides the smiling man, the most effective naked people scene is there's a shot when Peter comes back to the house from breaking his nose and it's daytime. And then we get the same shot that flips to night.
Oh, I love when they do that. They do it twice in the movie.
And then the house is completely surrounded by the naked cult members of the coven. And it's like, it's another one of those things like, okay, I'm watching the movie. Wait, did I see what I just think I saw? Like, you need to really watch this film because you're going to miss these little things and these little hints.
But I wonder, is that a requirement if you're in a coven? Because not that I'm on the fringe of joining a coven. Do you have to be naked? In this one you do?
Yes.
But is it, covens and stuff, you know that world. Because I just don't want to like mistakenly join a coven. They're like, all right, take your pants off. And I'm like, what if I didn't prepare for that,
How could you not prepare?
Well, I don't know. Like, what if I wasn't prepared that day? If you're going to show off your stuff, you got to be prepared.
All right.
Lance, look. No, I'm joking. I'm just saying it's like, I probably would be the one that like threw like, because there's some of them that are wearing like the sheet. I'd be like one that was like, oh, I threw a sheet on. Like I'm still part of it, but I have a sheet on because I'm like, I don't need people to see on my bits. I don't want people to see my. Do you want people to see your bits?
No, but I don't need to prepare to. If I'm joining a cult, I'm prepared. You know, at that point.
That's
like,
what I'm saying.
You're giving into.
I don't want them to be
so.
throwing it upon me. It's like, hey, just so you know, you brought the cheese dip to the coven meeting, but also we're gonna pour the cheese dip on you. You know what I mean?
I get it, Danny. I understand. I understand where you're coming from.
I'm fucking with you.
Is there anything else you want to mention about this? I really do feel like we could come back to this one and do a whole nother episode once we watch it more and more. But
I think
we want to leave it on a good note.
I do think that you and I are getting to a point where we are going to spoil some stuff because we get really excited about it. But there are some things that like I don't think we need to spoil it all. So please. Watch the movie, like we said. If you are blessed enough to have a great system to where you can watch it, please do. Not that you need any of that stuff. We're not elitist, but you know, allow yourself to create that space for this viewing because it does deserve it.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So with that, Danny, what is our rating going to be today? How many
cakes?
How many cakes? How many cakes? How many pieces of cake do you give Hereditary?
I give it 5.
You give it a 5?
Yeah.
Yes. All right. Perfect. I give it a 5 as well. I'm so happy me and Danny are on the same page on this one because I was definitely going to give it a 5 as soon as I was done with the credits. And I text Danny right away like, I love it. Actually, you text me like, what'd you think? You text me right when the credits came on.
Because I was watching you. Remember, I told you I was in the corner.
Oh, that's right.
I was in the corner of your ceiling. I was watching you watch it.
Creep. Anyway, as soon as the credits hit, he goes, so what'd you think? And I went, first of all, I think it's creepy that you text me right when the credits roll up on this film. Second of all, one of my favorite horror films now. So probably my favorite new horror film in the last several years. So
this movie is widely considered to be one of the greats, new greats. So a lot of people love it. And but again, a lot of people did not like it. And my mom's in that bunch too. Maybe just maybe it requires a second viewing. Maybe not. You know, you're not going to please everybody.
I will say it is a mood. I was telling Danny earlier, I'm like, God, I'm depressed again. You know, like it's family trauma and the first good chunk of it until you get some shocking moments. You're like, what am I in store for? And there's just enough attractions. You know what I mean? I use that word a lot. Like what attractions are you adding? And that's the shock. That's the horror, you know, and all that. And there's so many in there that you're like, okay. So
wait. Real quick. Remember when I was like, don't give me rice. You give me chalk. Remember, I was like, oh, that's part of the movie. Just want to make sure. Fuck Joan, by the way. She, you know, shows Annie that she is channeling her grandson and she uses a chalkboard. That's why.
Okay. Oh yeah, that was a really cool scene and very challenging for the crew. Again, there's a lot of backstory. Because of this, I'm a fan of Ari Aster now. I haven't seen Midsommar yet, but I will soon, just because he takes care of so much detail. This took him a few years to write. This was not supposed to be his first film.
And it wasn't supposed to be a horror film, you said?
No, it was all family trauma. It slowly morphed. He kind of said, like, I see more of an opportunity with this being a horror film. Becoming a horror film, so those elements were added later. And again, like I don't study, but I do like to read a lot about the occult and cults and covens and all that kind of stuff, just for the knowledge of it and the creepiness of it. And this guy really did his research across the board. He really pushed his actors in a cool way, which I appreciate. I mean, you know, say what you will about certain types of acting, but I just loved it for this film. I'm a big fan of Alex Wolff because of this film.
Yes, you are. You love the guy.
I can't wait to see what he does next. So on that's
Toni Collette got robbed.
Totally. That's Danny. I'm Lance, reminding you to
lock your doors,
bolt your windows,
and
join us next time in our Slasher's Paradise. Hey! Thank you everyone for watching Slasher's Paradise tonight. Please go down to the subscribe button right down here and click subscribe, and make sure you turn on your notifications so that you know when we go live next time on YouTube. Danny.
And if you prefer an audio version, look us up on Apple Podcasts, find Slasher's Paradise, listen to us obviously, and leave a 5-star rate and review. If you don't know what to say, go ahead and put in a request of a movie you'd like for us to talk about. We'd love to hear what you think, guys.
Yes, please. And if you would love to see more of our beautiful faces, head to facebook.com/Dead Candy Fix. Dead Candy is the producer of Slasher's Paradise, and we will see you there, and we will see you next time. Here's to you guys.
This is Slasher's Paradise. Sorry, I had to work that in.
And I'm going to drink on that.